Hello guys and welcome to our first vlog. Yeah, we're pretty excited about this first video and documenting this whole project. So I guess let's just get stuck into it. So basically, I think what we'll run through to begin with is just kind of like what we've been doing for the last 5 weeks. So as we told you, this is part of our major work, and for the last 5 weeks we've been kind of generating the ideas that we needed to push forward with this project. And you know, we had a lot of trouble kind of taking a concept like you know, coral bleaching or litter on the reef and gamifying it. But you know, after several weeks, we kind of got into a good place with it, essentially. So now we have the auto detection camera system. So obviously, like we said last week, the overall objective is for the player to swim around and explore the reef, collecting litter and capturing photos of the coral and the fish for conservational purposes, and that was kind of the game that we came up with out of that initial concept. And for me to push forward into the level design, level design, I really needed to be able to have a solid foundation of game mechanics, because obviously they really affect what the level looks and feels like. Okay, so right here I've got open my map that I did. This is the most recent map. If I show you one of the ones before, it's very vague, very vague. Well, mind you, this is still quite vague, but we have a little bit more information on it. I think probably some of the most important information too, that's outside of a 3D space. So what we've got here is the one area divided up into subsections. These are known as spatial districts. So I've numbered them here, so we go from District 1 all the way up to District 7, and I tried to kind of keep them in the order that the player could potentially traverse. However, the most important thing to note about these districts is that they're all kind of ascertain their own identity in terms of environmental assets, as well as what fish will be present and as well as what coral will be present. And really the whole purpose of these districts are to provide orientation for the player. I've never worked with such verticality as I've had to work with Peterage. So for me, kind of venturing into that territory, I really am preempting the player being able to get quite lost. So I want to try and provide as much orientation as possible. So each spatial district will kind of have its own landscape. And these landscapes don't necessarily have to be weenies, like a big, huge collection of rocks, for example. They can be something small, like a small rock formation that's shaped in a different way to the rest of the environment. For example, I can show you this. So this is the initial block out I created with the Supergrid pack, which is on the Unreal Asset Store, which is awesome, by the way. You should definitely check it out. And this was really just to kind of get the overall shape, and these are the sorts of rock formations that I was talking about, providing like a landscape. Basically, this was phase 1 of the block out, just kind of boxing it out and getting a rough overall shape. Though I did, once we got the player controller working a little bit better, I did come to realize that the metrics were quite large, so we've begun scaling those back. I also wanted to create a bit more of a language happening into the next blockout phase. So I really quickly went into Maya and I just modeled some basic types of rocks, and imported them into Unreal and essentially just stretched them and changed them to kind of create a better impression of the first spatial district. So, as you can see here, we have the boat, and this is essentially where the player is going to begin from. And we're planning to have them follow down the anchor chain into this area here. However, obviously got to keep in mind that they don't necessarily have to come down here. They can go across and sideways, whichever way they want. And then this is the first rock formation, the landscape for this particular subsection. And the reason why it's red is because we're actually going to have an animation trigger if the player decides to move through this loop. It would just be a small animation of the player putting the hand on the rock and pushing themselves through. So the purpose of this kind of district is to kind of create an implied volume here that the player can move into. However, at this kind of moment in time, there is a lot of positive space above this. Suggest to the player not to come down into this space. So, this is why I'm trying to cater for all kind of angles. And then this space here is kind of a void area in which I'm trying to communicate to the player that there is nothing above this area for you to find. It's all going to be quite boring. And then once the mechanics are finished, when the player reaches this area, it'll be like a kill zone essentially. So then the player will be told that they're bordering, they're surfacing essentially, and do they wish to exit the dive. So that's where we're at the moment for the levels. So for the next video, I kind of plan to have the level all dressed up, no more cubes, and we'll hopefully have a few more of the mechanics to show you. Like I said, it is very early days at the moment, but we do intend to have a vertical slice in about 6 weeks. So we've got quite a long way to go, but we've got a really good team, and yeah. Anyway guys, that's it from me, and I will see you next time.